This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
And now at 6, 2 people are dead, 1 is injured after a shooting in a Carmel neighborhood. The new information coming in at this hour.
The statewide mask mandate is now in effect. We'll break down the new requirement, showing you when you must wear a mask.
Some COVID-19 survivors say they are still testing positive for the virus way after their symptoms have stopped. We look into the reason why and find out if you can be reinfected after already having coronavirus.
I think that we are maybe in the quiet before the storm.
Many people need rental assistance during this pandemic, and that number could soon grow. The church that's working to help those who need it. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino.
First, it is a Storm Team 6 alert day. Strong storms across central Indiana today. Heavy rain, high winds, and lightning causing thousands of power outages. This is video from Fishers. Now let's take a look at this video from Brownsburg. You can see wind blowing that playhouse across the yard as the rain came down in buckets. Thanks to RTV6 photojournalist Jason Strong for these shots here. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is here. Kevin, what are you tracking right now?
We'll stay in Hendricks County for a second, Mark. This is also eastern Hendricks County, Avon area, large tree down, healthy tree. We had wind gusts to 60 miles per hour or stronger. The good news is the strongest storms have ended and are leaving the state. There's your little trail of wind damage with lots of power outages, lots of trees down from Brownsburg, Avon through Marion County, then into northern Shelby County. The strongest storms, what's left of these now, about to exit the state. As you watch from west to east, there's 4 hours of time as the storms move across the state. As they're moving at 50 miles per hour, you bring down any more rain or any more wind from that falling rain, and you get the damaging wind. Versailles to Brookville Reservoir, the strongest storms. This is just general rainfall that will last a little bit longer. Temperatures have definitely taken a hit. From the 90s to the 70s is where we sit now. The biggest noticeable change that's ahead for tomorrow and when the rain ends for all of us coming up.
Now to breaking news that we're following. Emergency crews rushed 4 people to area hospitals, including a juvenile who is now in critical condition after a construction site collapsed in Brownsburg. This happened near 267 and West Northfield Drive, not far from the Interstate 74 interchange. The Brownsburg Fire Department telling RTV6 that construction workers were setting roof rafters on a miniature strip mall when the structure collapsed. Investigators say it's unclear exactly why the collapse happened, but they say it is worth noting that it happened during the high winds from the storms that moved through central Indiana. And they suspect that that could have played a part in this incident. Again, 4 people hurt, 1 critically after a structure on a construction site collapsed in Brownsburg. And that critical injury is a juvenile who is now at Riley Hospital for Children. Amanda.
2 people are dead and 1 is injured after a shooting in the Spring Creek neighborhood in Carmel. That's where we find RTV6's Stephanie Wade. She's been following this developing story all day and has the very latest at this hour.
According to police, 1 victim and the suspect have died. A 2nd victim was transported to the hospital with injuries. All of this starting around 8 o'clock this morning in the Spring Creek neighborhood just behind me here. Right now, police are investigating multiple crime scenes, they say, throughout this neighborhood. The call came in for shots fired near Rippling Brookway and Creek Bend Drive this morning. We know a Carmel police officer who responded to the shooting fired their weapon. We don't know if the officer did in fact shoot the suspect or not, but that the officer was not injured.
We did have 1 officer that fired shots. I do not know exactly how many shots at this time. That investigation is ongoing. And we do have 2 individuals who are deceased. That's 1 victim and our suspect are deceased. And then the 3rd individual has been transported to a local hospital for treatment.
Police could not say yet if the people involved are related, how old they are, or what might have caused this. But there is no further threat to the public at this time. We will keep you updated as information is released. Reporting in Carmel, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
And anyone with information about the shooting should call the Carmel Police Department's non-emergency number at 317-571-2580 and request to speak with an officer. Again, that number is 317-571-2580.
A reminder, the statewide mask mandate is now in effect. That means masks are required for anybody across Indiana who is 8 years old or older in public indoor spaces, on public transit, outside when it's not possible to be socially distant, and in schools. This mandate will remain in effect until at least August 26th. The final executive order does not include criminal penalties for not wearing a mask.
Only on RTV6, Dr. Deborah Birx, who's on the White House Coronavirus Task Force, spoke to our Rafael Sanchez after she accompanied Vice President Mike Pence at Marian University on Friday. Rafael had a chance to discuss a number of issues, including testing, the state's new mask mandate, and whether this is the right time to open schools.
Educators, parents, they're concerned. Is this the right time? Should we wait till Labor Day? I know that you are not the education secretary. And I know that you will not dictate when schools should open, but you have the science. When is the best time to allow people to have some sort of reassurance that it's going to be okay?
Well, my best advice for every place like Indianapolis specifically and Indiana in general is what the governor has done and what the people of Indiana are doing now. If they commit themselves to wearing masks in every single public place, in every place where they interact with others, if they stop going to bars, we can get our kids in school. Because your test positivity will drop dramatically, your cases will drop, and will have a tremendous impact on the spread of this virus. Kids can be in school safely. We know that children get less disease, but we're also concerned about the parents in multi-generational households, and we're concerned about the teachers.
Tomorrow on the news at 6, more of our corona conversation with Dr. Birx, especially what should happen with fall sports and extracurricular activities.
Tonight, Indiana reports hundreds of fewer new COVID-19 cases. However, there were also thousands of fewer new COVID-19 tests. The State Department of Health confirms 561 new cases of the coronavirus. That's nearly 300 fewer cases than there were reported yesterday. Numbers from the state show 6,595 new COVID-19 tests. Yesterday, that number was over 11,000 new tests. The Department of Health reports 3 new deaths, which is also a decrease from yesterday. Since the pandemic began, 2,709 Hoosiers have died from coronavirus. And so far, a total of more than 707,000 people in Indiana have been tested for COVID-19. 8.9% of them tested positive for the virus. Data also shows that 46% of Indiana's ICU beds are available. COVID-19 patients are using 12% of the ICU beds. Non-COVID-19 patients are using more than 41% of those beds. Nearly 84% of the state's ventilators are also available tonight.
Patients can remain positive for weeks following the infection.
Some COVID-19 survivors tell us they beat the disease long before getting a negative test result back. Troy Washington is working for you to explain this and if survivors can get infected again.
Ronald Smith beat COVID-19 long before his test results reflected how he was feeling.
I was sick from the 10th, maybe until like the 19th. That's when my symptoms started breaking.
He told Facebook the virus is nothing to play about and used his experience as an example.
I finally went this past Friday and they were like, yeah, you're clear, finally. So it was a total of almost like 44, 45 days.
He says he took multiple COVID-19 tests long after the symptoms were gone and kept testing positive.
This is not a joke. I'd rather people stay home. I have been constantly urging my friends, please do not, because you don't want it.
Experts say it's possible to test positive long after recovering from COVID-19.
Patients can remain positive for weeks following the infection. And in fact, there's the Korean CDC report that patients were positive up to 80 days.
After recovery, the expert we spoke to says once a person is no longer showing symptoms of the virus, like a fever, the person is likely no longer contagious, even though the virus might still show up in a test. The CDC suggests quarantining for 10 days after the symptoms are gone.
Once I had got it this one time, that was it. I am no more out.
According to the CDC, there are 7 different strains of the coronavirus. Smith tells us he's afraid of catching the disease again. The expert we spoke to says despite multiple strains, there's not enough research yet to say whether or not a person can be infected by the virus again.
Now, in terms of the reinfection possibility, This is something that we truly don't know, as we're learning a lot from this virus as we go.
Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Currently, IU Health is using 2 medications to help treat patients battling COVID-19. One of the approved medications speeds up recovery by up to 4 days, and the other is believed to help those facing prolonged symptoms. More info on those treatments is available right now on our website at theindychannel.com and the RTV6 app.
For thousands in central Indiana, paying rent isn't easy, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this week, the $600 a week unemployment benefit will run out. That means making rent could even be more of a struggle. RTV6's Megan Sanctorum is working for you to find out what types of options are out there to help people stay in their home.
As the end of another month approaches, thousands are stuck wondering how they're going to pay their rent. Some are finding extra government assistance coming to an end. Others may not have ever qualified for it, but are still struggling due to reduced hours and income.
We've seen many families not knowing what their next option is. It is heartbreaking, and it's also humbling because we are reminded that we could be in that situation.
That's why churches in the area are stepping up. Pastor Nicole Caldwell-Gross here at St. Luke's on West 86th says community members have donated more than $100,000 for a rent and utility assistance fund, one that's helped hundreds so far. We spoke with one woman who received help from the church. She says she got rid of her car and made other sacrifices, but still was not able to pay rent. She asked not to be identified, but says the church came through for her.
Really the main thing that matters, right? That we have a home and that we have food too. So between those two, I feel blessed to be able to have that.
She's now encouraging others to keep searching for resources because she says help like this is out there. Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
And if you need help paying your rent, head to our website, theindychannel.com. We have information there on state and county programs, as well as others like the church.
RTV6 is teaming up with the Indiana Black Expo to bring you the virtual Hiring Hoosiers Employment Opportunity Fair. It's this Thursday, July 30th from noon until 4 p.m. Quality employers are coming together to help you take the next steps in your career. Immediate job openings are available. To get connected, visit indianablackexpo.com.
Some of you may be sending your kids physically back to school. Others may be taking part in virtual learning. Either way, I turn to educators to get advice to help you balance your job and your child's education.
The legacy of Pete and Alice Dye, and trust me, it goes well beyond the famous Island Green 17th hole here at historic TPC Sawgrass. The legacy they're leaving behind. Coming up here at RTV6.
And storms about ready to exit southeastern Indiana. Once those leave, we'll talk about what's arriving for the next couple of days when we come back.
The Rebound Indiana is RTV6's mission to help you get through this pandemic, and that's inspired our newest series called Safely Back to School. We want to help you and your child return to school for the year as safely as possible. I turn to educators for advice and resources for you to balance work and your child's needs. This portrait shows Lori Hargrove, a Franklin College graduate now in her 7th year of educating children, currently teaching in Wayne Township. When COVID-19 started spreading around the state, her students moved from the classroom to virtual learning.
That quick transition to e-learning was interesting and it was hard. I heard a lot of times just families say, I need help, I need help, I need help.
Lori responded to that call for help to be a support system for families. She founded Learn with Lori.
Learn with Lori was inspired just by everything that is transpiring through COVID.
An online service that eases the burden on parents and addresses the struggles that might come in this new age of e-learning. In Greenfield at Mount Comfort Elementary School,
we've actually been getting ready for school and virtual learning, in-person learning since last May.
Principal Alyssa Lockwood is offering advice for parents who may feel overwhelmed with virtual learning.
I think sometimes parents maybe feel the pressure to become the teacher, and really what we want parents to feel, we want them to feel supported from the teacher and not the need to take the place of the teacher.
Principal Lockwood urges parents to reach out to teachers.
We've prepared our teachers teachers and given them, ideas and best practices for virtual learning. And so really we want the parents and the teachers to work together.
Lockwood says as students start this new school year, there will be an increased workload since there has been more time to plan virtual lessons than there was in the spring.
And so this year we're expecting the kids to be on doing their work every day, 5 days a week. And we expect them to have kind of a similar workload to the in-person kids.
That may be a concern for parents who not only oversee their children's e-learning time, but also work from home themselves.
My advice is to build a schedule. Carve out the day, the time that you can commit to helping your child and the time that you need to work on your things at home too.
A structured schedule to establish routine and optimize learning time.
Well, Principal Lockwood says about 20% of her students will take part in virtual learning. The others will return to the classroom. As for Lori Hargrove's online service, Learn with Lori, we've provided a link to her website with a list of services and fees in this story in the IndyChannel.com/rebound.
If you got caught in the storm, it was certainly memorable. It was rocking the car a bit with these gusts to 60 miles per hour. Stephanie Wade shooting this video while parked as the storm rolled through up in Hamilton County. Lots of power outages from Hendricks through Marion, Southern Hamilton, and Shelby counties. There are thousands without power through the IPL system. 91 today, prior to the storms. Then temperatures dropped into the 70s. That's where we sit right now. Temperature at Indianapolis International, where we had a peak wind gust of 52 miles per hour, is 74. 75 in Lafayette, western Indiana, all in the mid-70s. The southeastern portion of the state was the most recent to still hold on to temperatures in the 80s with that high humidity. That is being pushed out of the state. Here are the strongest storms, and there they go, just crossing the state line into the Cincinnati metro area. If you come back, you can see we still have showers around from Crawfordsville and Frankfort to Rockville. This is the back edge then of the rain, and here's the cold front. That's the spark for the afternoon thunderstorms that we've had. Until that has made its way through central Indiana, we'll still keep an isolated shower in there through about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. Got some low-hanging clouds as we look to the west, where the storms have calmed things for now. 7 o'clock, Peru to Terre Haute, a little broken line of some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder. Nothing as strong as what we experienced between 3 and 4 in the metro area. By 11 o'clock, a sharp cutoff as skies begin to clear and the rain ends everywhere. Anytime we have storms in the forecast, or even when it's sunny, I think you can benefit from the Storm Shield app. It'll give you an hourly forecast. It says warnings to your phone. It is a weather radio for your phone, and it is free. 85 tomorrow, less humid. That's the big headline. Still dry and nice on Wednesday. Thunderstorms return Thursday. I'm sure more of you would like some rain, and that's on the way later in the week. Tomorrow, that northwest wind is key toward keeping the humidity down, making it feel a little more refreshing. The wind is never too strong, but out of the northwest 10 to 15. Temperatures low to mid 80s, a big change from the low 90s with heat index temperatures around 100 today. 7-day forecast again. Next best chance for thunderstorms Thursday, a low chance of thunderstorms this weekend into early next week with highs right around 80 degrees. Mark and Amanda?
Kevin, thank you. Crooked Stick Golf Club in Carmel is set to host the prestigious Western Amateur this week, one of the many high-profile tournaments being played on Pete Dye courses around the globe.
The 94-year-old died last January, his wife Alice a year before that. But they leave behind a lasting legacy in golf course design, namely in Indiana, where they called home. Dave First with the Sports Extra Spotlight.
Hey kid, you probably just tore it apart.
There's no lack of memories of Pete Dye, and certainly not of Pete and his wife Alice, two of the great course architects of modern golf. Stirred up again as Crooked Stick hosts the Western Amateur this week.
They were a great team. Alice brought a perspective that Pete didn't see, and Pete brought his genius that Alice couldn't even imagine. None of us could imagine some of the things he came up with.
It includes the famous Island Green on the 17th hole at TPC Sawgrass in suburban Jacksonville, Florida. In fact, there's a quote from Pete on the first tee of the PGA Tour's Anchor facility. Quote, "It's a great bit of personal satisfaction to be asked by the tour members to build their golf course."
For sure, probably the most familiar with Pete Dye golf courses.
Avon's Patrick Rogers gets to see plenty of die courses on the PGA Tour and has seen them for years playing Pete's mini designs in Indiana.
I don't think I really appreciated how quirky they could be, having grown up on so many different Pete Dye golf courses throughout central Indiana. But I definitely feel at home and kind of appreciate kind of the genius or maybe even the madness.
Rooted in a trip to Scotland in the 60s, the designs share a mixture of big bunkers, small bunkers, deep bunkers, the use of cross ties, sharp angles, combining the physical and the mental for the golfer, and the stories
you can't put on tape.
Bobby Weed is one of Pete and Alice's famous design proteges, with courses from coast to coast, including a redesigned Culver Academy's golf course in northern Indiana, voted one of the top 9-hole courses in the country.
As great a legacy as Pete has with his golf courses, an equal legacy of Pete will be all the people that he mentored and touched and brought into this game.
From Sawgrass to Harbortown to Indiana's Brickyard Crossing, Crooked Stick, and the Pete Dye course in French Lick, Pete and Alice Dye seemingly overlook it all.
His boldness and brashness, and I've always been very proud that he's a Hoosier.
One of a kind, broke the mold, best of the modern era.
What a privilege it was to know them, and for us here at Crooked Stick, this is their baby, is what they called it, and so it's pretty special.
Leaving behind a lasting legacy. Day first, RTV6 Sports.
A much calmer evening. The afternoon a bit rough. Calmer evening, still some showers. We're at 74 now, and you can see all the colors of the stronger storms are now into Ohio. We have some showers left, maybe a rumble of thunder, but not expecting severe storms. Amanda?
Thank you for making RTV6 your choice for news. We'll be back here at 7.